Hi everyone, this is Eric with Leadership Developed. This week, we're going to talk about another book that had an impact on how I do leadership. Now, before we begin, I could really use your help by hitting the like button and also subscribe. You see, this is my passion project, and that is to improve leaders to create better societies. We're going to talk about a book called Extreme Ownership by Jocko, Willink, and Leif, Babin. Now, I got to admit, I actually read this book after I left the Marine Corps, but this book actually has so much impact on how I'm approaching my passion project. And this book has been great for helping me reflect and realign of how I want to go about what I want to contribute to society. In combat, as they say, is reflective of life. It has immediate consequences for decisions it's made. And so when I heard those words, I was like, that's it. That's what we deal with every day. Now, going back to the book, first takeaway we're going to talk about is the ownership, hence the title of the book. You own what the team was able to do or not able to do. And by doing so, you create trust within the organization because as a leader, you're owning it. We're going to talk about, just the simple fact of what your organization does and does not accomplish is ultimately up to you. That goes into this video where we talked about the different styles of leadership. And that will help you to be able to figure out what type of leadership needs to be addressed to help the situation that you're dealing with. The second takeaway is keep your ego in check. And here's why. You can be easily manipulated. I had a boss's boss that had a huge ego. And because of my ability to work past the frustration to get something that I needed for my people to be successful, I started manipulating this gentleman. The legacy is of the organization, not the person. And that's the problem we have with our leadership right now. The problem with our leadership right now is we have everyone that worries about what their image is, what they're doing during their time in the seat, versus what is the long-term goals going forward. Politicians are the worst, corporate CEOs are second worst, and this is because they're only worried about how they look and what happens during their time, or as I would say, during their watch. What we need right now from our leaders is to be able to think long terms, think past their time in the seat, creating that succession plan. And that's where that humility comes into play. Because once you have that, and once you create in the succession plan, you will gain so much trust. The people will want to keep you in that position for as long as you can physically, mentally do it. The next takeaway is a quote that Leif gives to us, and I hang by this one. And this one is called, "It's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate." And so what this means to me, it's, are you going to tolerate that person that does not want to be part of the culture? And that's what it comes down to. What is your organization's culture? So the whole, not what you preach, what you tolerate, is how do you deal with the people in your organization as well. Not only as yourself, because you're the transformational leader who's supposed to be setting the example, but it's also how you hold others accountable. How do you make them understand that the culture is also based on them? That's why I talk about leadership teams. It's not just the person themselves, but the leadership team, it has to be cohesive, and it has to be able to create that culture that reflects what the core values of that organization is. Another thing that the Jocko and Leif bring up as well is just facing the facts, that poor performance without blame. When we see poor performance and we don't put blame, we actually analyze what's going on. And so that allows us to be able to grow as humans, to grow as professionals, and to grow as leaders to help others, our successors, and the people that look up to us on how they can do it just as well, if not better. And we always want them to do better than ourselves. And the reason why we do this is because the best learning, the most important learning, happens during the debrief, during the reflection time. Yes, I got it. It's past. But that's why it's training. It's training. If you're doing this during training, it's a less chance that poor performance during the actual event. And that's important. Training is there for you to learn from failures. Training is there to help you explore ideas that might be beneficial to the organization. I keep telling my friends over at the gym that best thing that I can do for myself is to show up to the gym, not going, oh, I couldn't get the weights up, or I couldn't keep up with you on the run. I got it. You're going to have bad days. But because you're in there over time of just showing up and doing what needs to get done to improve, you are going to see results eventually. It's not strongly correlated that if I do X, I get Y. It is, some people are slower, I'm a slow learner, and some people are faster. Another takeaway is focus on the mission. As a casualty evacuation pilot in Iraq, we would go, when the bell rings, we ran to our aircraft. We started them up, and we had to get those people out of those battlefields back to a hospital where they could have their life saved. And it's called the golden hour. I understand this whole focus on the mission because towards my last deployment in Iraq, I lost a bunch of friends to a surface-to-air missile while they were performing this mission. And at the time, I was in charge of the emergency reclamation team. And when you have your friends killed in front of you, but you have a mission to go recover them and them so they can be brought home to their families, you really have to get your mind out of the internal suffering, because we're going to go out amongst the enemy, be able to bring our friends back to a safe location where we can prepare them for transportation to their families. And so it's important to understand that we call it thinking internally, thinking externally. And it's a mindset. The thing is, focusing on the mission, getting the team to focus on a mission. When I have 20 men and women who they're hurting because they lost their friends to the enemy. And we have to go out and to the enemy, and we have to go out and get them. And you understand that they're hurting. But as a leader, even you're hurting with them, and you admit, okay, this sucks. We just lost our friends. But we owe it to them to be able to get them back to safety, to bring them back to here so they can be transported to their families and loved ones for a proper burial. And when you get your people, so you show the empathy, you show that you're facing the brutal fact that this sucks, we're hurting, but then you bring them to give them hope that we're going to do something great to help honor them for the sacrifice they made for us. Leading through that is a tough thing, but because you as a leader have to be able to relate, empathize, and bring them back to reality of the external thinking of how we're going to do this, how we're going to do something great for them in return. So the next takeaway is keep it simple. Why? Because life is complicated enough. The world is complicated enough. By you putting in this intricate strategy plan, you're just adding more complication to what needs to be simplified. By keeping it simple, it allows everyone to get a common grip, a common understanding of what is the goal. How are we going to do this goal through the mission statement, and what are our guidelines to the core values? So by having a simplified version of a plan, whether it's a business plan, an operating plan, a process plan, by keeping it simple, you take away a lot of the complication, a lot of frustration that makes people just want to give up. By giving you simple ideas, simple plans, simple goals will allow you to grow exponentially as you work through these challenges. And the final takeaway, discipline equals freedom. And it was like, oh God, why do I have to be disciplined? I'm doing fine. The idea of living is to live life and be free. Well, yeah, it is. But you know how frustrating it is when you're just so chaotic and you don't know what you want to do next? Everyone teaches that, to be disciplined, you have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning and do this, do that. And to me, especially because I'm a night person and I hate mornings, it's how I use my available time. I will allocate sleep time at the 8 hours, sometimes less, and it shows. But it is what you do with the remainder of your time. Do you take that time for reflection, meditation, or anything that helps you think through the process of your day? Second one is working out. There is a correlation between physical activity and mental agility by the way we keep our bodies. Staying in shape is great for your ability to think and make these timely decisions, especially during stressful moments. Once you have everything allocated out and your things start coming second nature, and trust me, the studies say it takes 65 to 90 days for a process to become a habit. And I can tell you, I was the worst at getting time to work out or prioritizing time to work out. But now that I've been doing it for 2 years, I have seen so many changes in the way I attach or the way I approach this passion project. So understand that disciplining yourself through your use of time, disciplining the way you approach your financial needs, your financial goals, it actually does create freedom, because once it becomes second nature, you find yourself now using less time to, intentionally think through these things and actually going, all right, we got a habit plan. We have a habit here. We have a good behavior of doing things, and it's allowing me to, because it's grown well, I have money to be able to get a nicer car. I have the time to be able to go on a trip. Understand that just because we're saying discipline, yes, at first it feels tough. It feels like you don't have freedom, but trust me, there is freedom there. There's freedom to be able to choose whatever you want to do with your life, because you already figured out how to plan. You already thought about how to keep yourself in shape, keep yourself healthy. You already thought about what your purpose is in life. Look, I talked a lot about this book, and yes, it's a great, to me, it's a great read. It was, great about how, they're able to formulate a structure that I could follow, that anyone could follow. I mean, it was war story, principle, applications to business. And they did such a great job with it. People love to hear how he can relate something so hard, something so, impossible. And especially, he's a Navy SEAL. These guys have a mentality that we can learn from. And I hope that I can help spread that word to you, in which these gentlemen have been able to have the same impact on me. Book's called Extreme Ownership. Jocko Willink, Leif Babin, Navy SEALs. I enjoyed this book immensely. I suggest you get a chance to read it too. I'm Eric with Leadership Developed. It's great talking to you. Like I said, you can help me out by spreading the word by hitting the like button. Also subscribe. Until next week, we'll see ya.